Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at BGSU. This is our informational webinar talking about your future in change, pursuing worthwhile work while diversifying your professional portfolio with a career trifecta. Also focusing on our new doctorate in organization development and change. And so we appreciate the time you're taking out from your busy schedules, your workday, wherever you may be. We appreciate the time that you are spending with us today. I am here on campus with some guests that I'll be introducing in just a minute. But before we do, we want to go through just a few of kind of the guidelines, the webinar instructions as we get started here. First of all, throughout the event today, participants will be muted. However, you can always ask questions by typing directly in the question box. So if you look over in the control panel to the right, you'll see that one of your drop downs is a question box, and you can type your questions in there. And if we don't address your question during the webinar, we'll be sure to answer any questions that you may have at the end of the session. Individual questions will be addressed again throughout, but we'll be sure to pick up anything that is kind of straggling out there at the end. Our agenda for this webinar, we're going to talk about trends and professions that transform, revitalize, and develop. We'll talk about the career trifecta, professional brand as subject matter expert, new online blended residency format for busy working professionals like yourselves. We'll talk about executive career accelerator that we have here on campus. We're going to talk about the program a little bit more in detail as well, the DODC program, everything from why choose to pursue a program like that to what are the benefits of the BG program and what does that look like as far as the curriculum is concerned. We'll also address financial costs and everything that goes along with the possibility of enrollment in that program. And we'll talk about the application process. So lots to cover here. Our goal is to go about 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer with us talking. And then we hope to have more of an opportunity to address your individual questions as much as possible. So with that, I'm going to go on ahead and introduce a couple of our guests. With me here on campus, I have Steve Cady, who's the director of the DODC program and a faculty member here on campus, as well as Tom Daniels, who's the assistant director of the DODC. And Steve, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you introduce our panelists who are joining us today.
Great, thanks. And I don't know if they're muted or not. I'd love to say hi to them. So if we have Carol Gorelick. Carol is one of the people that is working with me directly on a new book. It's actually a book encyclopedia. We call it Almanac, and we're going to be. It outlines the top methodologies for collaboration and change from around the world. And she's also works with Nexus for Change, and she's got her doctorate, and she has really exemplified this career trifecta. Dr. Williams is also with us today, and Dr. Williams also exemplifies this career trifecta as well. She also has worked with our master's program students, and we have a simulation that she's worked with our students on, and we're glad to have Dr. Williams here. And then we have Dr. Rucci, who is, I'm a big fan of his. When I first got here to BG, he published an article in Harvard Business Review on the employee customer profit chain at Sears. And I had the pleasure of meeting with the folks at Sears way back in the 90s. And he's coming full circle. We're trying to get him to come in and maybe do some stuff with us here at BGSU possibly. And so I'm glad to have him. He's a graduate of the IO Psych program here as well. So Carol, thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here.
I'll be real quick here.
Hi, Carol. Glad you're here.
Hello. I have to unmute myself.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have a raspy voice, but I'm extremely excited about what's happening here to integrate as you call it, the trifecta. Its time has come.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And Dr. Williams, hi, I'm glad you're here. And you're unmuted now? Yeah. Hi, Dr. Williams.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for
good afternoon now.
Yeah. Thanks for making time to be with us today.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honor. Whatever I can do to share and learn and grow from everyone, I'm honored to be able to do that. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. And Dr. Rucci, it's great to have you here with us as well.
Hey, thank you, Steve, and welcome everyone on the call. I'm especially enthusiastic about the fact that folks who are pursuing full-time career can now look to a program like this where in a executive format they can pursue their Ph.D. I personally have known a lot of folks in my career who would have loved to have this opportunity.
That's awesome. Yeah, and then we'll have some more time to chat with you all about that, and we'll jump in. Do you want me to go on to the next slide?
That'd be great.
Yeah. So I want to talk with you about the field of change. I did a research study looking at academic, executive, and practitioner-oriented periodicals such as Harvard Business Review, Fast Company, to the Academy of Management. I looked at 20 years of how they describe and talk about the field of change. And what I found is what you're going to see is that most of the people out there doing work in the field of change in communities and organizations, what they're doing is they're looking at how they transform organizations, and organizational transformation, cultural transformation is a really hot topic right now, and revitalizing communities, and particularly looking at how to revitalize communities and demonstrate impact is a really hot topic in that area. And then in the third area, one of the things that we're coming full circle back to, because there's a lot of work done on this in the 50s and 60s, is this notion of human relations and developing human potential. And there's an emphasis coming back to really getting people grounded back in their core values, where people find meaning and joy in the work they do, more balance, and really helping people to find a way to be more effective in all that they do. I think that at the core of this is a very wise saying, which is if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And at the core of, I think, the field of change, I think that captures the essence of that. So I want to start with the end. And what I have found in talking with a lot of professionals out there that are doing great work. I'm not talking about people that are doing good work. I'm talking about people that are doing great work, making a big impact, and loving every minute of what they're doing. What I have found that they will say is that they are able to maximize and enjoy doing three things. And they want to have the ability to choose how they do it. They want to have more freedom in where, when, and how they, one, lead organizations and communities, where they lead, the kinds of organizations they work in. They want to have more choice around that. They also want to complement that a lot of times with consulting, getting out and working in organizations. Sometimes it's a leader in a for-profit that wants to do nonprofit consulting work and development work in their community. And some people want to make that transition as they begin to move from a success in leadership to doing more consulting work. Sometimes it's a switch. You got people that are doing some really great consulting work, working in big firms that get drawn back into leading an organization at the highest levels. Both of those two, you'll find that most people, when they really love doing what they do, they want to teach others. They want to share what they know, and they want to work in education. And a lot of them want to work in higher education, in universities or colleges. So this is the trifecta: leading, consulting, and educating, and working in positions and creating a mix amongst those three in a way that complements what that person's personal goals are around their work and their personal and professional life. So how do you get there? What I have found is that to have the greatest options amongst the trifecta, there are four things that people do that separate them from the rest. And the first thing that people do is they identify what it is that they want to be an expert in. What is their core expertise that gives them the edge, that sets them apart, that helps them make a case for why they can add value in anything that they wish and choose to do in that trifecta. First is, if you know what your expertise is, it's important to publish on it. Publish articles in, like I talked about, you got academic journals, you got expert journals like Harvard Business Review, and you got popular press journals or periodicals like Fast Company and things like that. So publishing your expertise. The next thing is teaching, is taking that expertise and turning it into programs that you teach on. The third thing is applying it, actually going out and taking your methodology, your expertise that you have developed, and not only publishing on it, not only training on it, but applying it in a variety of settings. That's still not enough that sets a person apart. What really sets people apart is when they do those three, it sets them up to build a community of practice or a network of practice around their work, where people want to follow them, want to learn more, want to read their work, want to take their workshops, and want to have them show them how to do or apply their particular model or approach and perspective in a community. There's an internal and external component to this. On the internal component, what I find, and this is kind of an interesting thing, is most of you out there that have expertise and want to bring it out to the world are driven by a desire to make a positive difference. And so the content, that model, that methodology, that expertise that you're developing, that you're writing about, teaching about, and applying, that expertise is important to you, that you see that it's making a difference. However, when you go to publish it, the interesting thing is that as you build your external brand, because I just talked about the internal piece, the external brand, most people out there that are in branding and selling books and workshops, they're interested in a great title, a great description, and do you have the credentials to really sell it? And so there's a bit of a conflict there sometimes. However, if done well, you can find a nice alignment between this external and internal alignment around building a community and network of practice around your expertise. That's what separates those that do great work and have that career trifecta fully leveraged and able to dance around in it the way they want, is based on those four things and maximizing those four. So how do you get there? Well, you got to become a subject matter expert, and you need to, like I said, you've got to take those actions and do those things in order to drive that career trifecta so you have positions of leadership, consulting, and education. What can help you with that is the doctorate. There is a trend for doctoral education that are for professionals out in the world that are looking to be scholar practitioners, that are looking to take their subject matter expertise and codify it or write about it or make it more concrete in the form of models and frameworks and processes that can be scaled so that multiple people all around the world can adopt your approach. That's the difference between a doctorate and a master's, where you're now taking your subject matter expertise to that scalable level. And so what you want is a doctorate that's going to help you develop that subject matter expertise so that you can then have that flexibility on the trifecta. With our doctorate program, there are three things. So as you look on the screen, imagine that right above the words doctorate and organization development and change, imagine there are three things. One is the curriculum that helps you on the left-hand side become that subject matter expert and really build it out. The second is a dissertation process. Our dissertation process is designed for you to create not this huge manuscript that you got to figure out what to do with. It's designed for you to create an applied version of your subject matter expertise that demonstrates its efficacy and impact. And so the dissertation process is a guided, structured process to support you in getting it done. And so that the day you're approved, you submit it for publication, and then in a place like Harvard Business Review, Sloan Management Review, or so forth. And then on the right-hand side over there, the other piece is our Career Accelerator, which is set up to support you in leveraging your expertise to give you the most options in the trifecta. So those are the three things that I think really will do in the program to help you leverage this and get there in an accelerated fashion. So I'll stop there and turn it over to Keith, who will talk a bit more about BGSU and how BGSU is set up to support our doctoral program to support you.
Great. Thanks, Steve. So this is really exciting. I know that this program has been in the works for a number of years, but some of you may not be familiar with Bowling Green State University. And so if you're not from Northwest Ohio, I wanted to take just a quick opportunity to talk a little bit about the university, the graduate college, and so forth. So we are a public university in Northwest Ohio, founded over 100 years ago, located just about 30 minutes south of Toledo. And about an hour from Detroit. So again, as you hear more about this program here over the next 15, 20 minutes or whatever, what you may be thinking is, well, gosh, if I'm coming from a distance, how do I get there? What is the easiest way to get there? And so for a lot of our people, they may be able to fly into Toledo, or they may be able to fly into Detroit for some of these opportunities here on campus. So just want to point that out. Our campus is about 1,300 acres, 119 buildings. Maybe more importantly, we have about 19,000 total students from all 50 states, 70 countries, very diverse population on our campus, and we're very proud of that fact. And we also have, it says nearly, we actually now have over 2,500 graduate students across about 75 departments, and it's actually about 180 graduate program certificates, ranging from, again, from certs to masters to doctoral programs. And the DODC is our newest doctoral program. So we're very excited about this. And again, as I said, it's been in the works for a number of years. And so, Steve, I know you're really excited about it. You've put kind of your heart and soul into this program. So without further ado, I can always answer more questions about BG, but I'm sure that everybody who's joining us here is really excited to hear more about the program. So
yeah,
I'll hand it back.
Thank you. And I've talked about some of this here. And one of the things that's important is with this doctorate, it's an accelerated doctoral program. It's 3 years, and it's going to be with other people who are have experience and are bringing that experience into what we could call a blended design that will have some residencies, which will be 5 residencies a year. It's 2 years of coursework and then a 3rd year of dissertation. Typically, when you get into doctoral programs, you have professional doctorates and academic doctorates. This is a professional doctorate. Academic doctorates will take anywhere from 4, sometimes 8, but really 4 to 6 years is probably a good range to say for an academic doctorate. And this is a professional doctorate preparing people to be scholar practitioners. And with it being an executive format, we're getting people that are coming from around the world with expertise, high goals, that are serving as leaders, consultants, and educators, again, going back to that trifecta. And they're looking to round out those options for them. If we go to the next slide there, we'll see, why also has to get at this first point here. The program is taught in a convenient accelerated format, which I mentioned. And that blended format means that you're going to use online tools. And I'd like to offer that online tools are the way in which the world is operating now. And so using online tools for the learning in the program will actually add to your toolkit the tools you need to collaborate virtually on projects in that career trifecta. There is also an international study program. I'm super excited about this. And what we are looking at doing, this is not confirmed, but I have built the relationships and I've been to these places 5 times and have met with them. We are looking at doing an international study tour that will go from here to Amsterdam, and we'll be looking at corporate and social change. We're looking at 2 sides of change, looking at community change and organizational transformation, community revitalization, and developing human potential through the lens of the work that's done in the Netherlands and Amsterdam. We'll then go from there, and we'll be out. And here's the other thing that's really cool I meant to say is there's the Anne Frank House, and I'm working with the Anne Frank House in partnership with them as well as 2 local universities, and we'll be doing a half-day symposium in which we'll be like a conference presenting there with students from there and the Anne Frank House, where the students will get a chance to present their work there with students and folks in Amsterdam. We will then turn around, hop on a plane, and fly 8 hours, maybe more like 8, I think it's 8 or 10 hours south to Cape Town in South Africa. And the University of Cape Town has a great program and both strategic communication, organizational change, and so forth. And we'll be working on doing some of the same stuff with them. Cape Town's right there by the wine country. So for those of you, we are going to literally study corporate change, community development. We're going to be looking at the wine country as an industry. We'll be doing a variety of things down there that will be really, really cool. So that'll be the international study tour. The other thing that we've got, the third point there, I think this is very important. The degree is housed in the College of Business. Our College of Business, if I may tout a couple of things. One, our students at the undergraduate level, 100% have jobs within 3 months of graduation. We have the highest starting salary of any college in the state of Ohio. We have the Career Accelerator program, which supports students. And most important for you all out there that are looking at the career trifecta, the AACSB accreditation is a elite accreditation of business schools. And these are the business schools around the country. And most people will not allow a person to teach in their College of Business without having a degree from an AACSB College of Business. So it won't limit you to other colleges to teach. It will give you the opportunity to teach amongst all the colleges and the best colleges in the world. And if we go to the next slide, when we look at the learning outcomes, I think the first thing here is that the curriculum is grounded in evidence-based perspectives, and this is rooted in the scholar-practitioner model. And it's interdisciplinary, international, and interprofessional. So we're looking at a lot of different applications, places, and theoretical perspectives that add to your evidence-based approach to making a strong case for anything that you do. That's the scholar-practitioner model. And we leaders as change agents, that's mentioned there, and really people who want to have access at the highest levels on the most complex change initiatives, either working with human potential development and coaching all the way to large complex change. People who want to work in consulting, like it says there, at coaching, internal, external, and also the last piece there in the education arena, which I've mentioned. So again, that's the trifecta. And there's a lot of strengths to the program. And Tom Daniels, who's our assistant director, has really helped to develop a lot of strengths and help to accentuate those strengths. So thanks, Tom, for being here.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us. Again, Tom Daniels, assistant director for the program. Again, the program brings a number of strengths and uniqueness, and Steve kind of alluded to some of these. First of all, that we have a reputation. Bowling Green State University and our College of Business has a reputation for in the organization development field. Our master's program has been around for 44 years. It was the very first program available in the world. And so the doctorate is kind of that next step in the process for us. And so we're really excited about that. It is designed to allow students to finish in that 36 months. And again, this is that scholar practitioner model that Steve's talked about specifically. And then Dr. Rucci and Shirley mentioned that earlier, how excited he was that this program will be able to allow a working professional to still move forward and earn a doctorate degree, and is just as little as 3 years. We also have the hybrid format, as we talked about. So we have a number of online and self-directed components to each of the courses. And then we balance that out with 5 intense interactive weekends where you will be near campus and have that opportunity to have peer learning. We kind of call that the peer learning opportunity, where you're exchanging ideas and learning not just with other working professionals, but from other working professionals who have similar passions that you do in that space. So it's a pretty unique format, and it's similar to our master's program. So our faculty are experts at utilizing this model to make sure that we get the best out of our students and the development that happens. The cohort model, you are there in the class with other working professionals. You're not going to have a class where you're going to have a student who's going to come in who just finished their undergrad and they have 0 work experience and you're dragging them along through the program. You will learn, again, with each other as well as from each other throughout the program. And as Steve mentioned, our program sits in the College of Business. So there is a business orientation that applies directly to the program. And it does open up opportunities for students who come from for-profit world, from nonprofit world, from the municipal areas, as well as in higher ed already. So there's a number of different strengths and uniqueness to the program.
So if we could, I'd love to pause for a second, Keith, and ask our panelists if they want to chime in. So we can start with Carol, then we'll go with Tony, and then Violet. So Carol, do you have any reflections and comments on what we've shared so far?
I'm extremely excited about this, and I suspect the only potential faculty member who has both been a student and a faculty member in corporate cohort executive programs, both for my MBA and my doctorate. And boy, if this one existed, would I have been there? The idea, I think, that's most intriguing to me is that it's really embracing the concept of the scholar practitioner and saying the work on what interests you is going to be central to the 3 years. And that's the only way that you're going to get out in 3 years. And I think that's a plus that I've never heard before.
Great. Thank you, Carol.
I'm complete.
Thank you. Tony, how about you? What are your thoughts on what you've heard so far?
Sure thing. As I said earlier, and you introduced me, my Ph.D. is from Bowling Green, from, excuse me, the Department of Psychology. And I can tell you what you just described as the trifecta is what I had in mind from before I even went back to earn my Ph.D. I would have personally killed for a program that was built on and designed around this notion of the scholar practitioner. It's what I ultimately did in retrospect, thinking back over the past 40 years, because it has been 40 years since my PhD, but exactly what you talked about today, whether I did it intentionally or not, are the three areas that have really served me really well, not just in terms of career aspirations, but just in terms of meaningful work in my life and a sense of professional and personal satisfaction. So I think the fact that this entire concept is designed around the scholar practitioner, to me, is a huge plus.
And thank you, Tony. And if I may add that the program also has been developed in partnership with the IO Psychology program. This is an interdisciplinary program. While we're housed in the College of Business, we are closely aligned with the IO Psych program. The IO Psych program is one of the top 3 rated programs in the country and has a long history, an incredibly well-credentialed and recognized history. It's also built on our Master Organization Development program, which was started in 1975, and it is the first program of its kind as a master's program in OD. And so by this partnership that we have, I think adds another level of perspective and robustness to the program and the learning experience. And Dr. Williams, what are your thoughts based on what you've heard so far?
I was just sitting here smiling as you went through the presentation, and it reignited a passion within me. And I did some reflecting on what I was looking for. I love what you said about people want the freedom in how they lead. They want to have more choice in how they lead it themselves. And the things that make this program viable and attractive is really around the flexibility, not just the robust curriculum that you're offering, the cohort-based interaction, the opportunities to grow and share and actually apply what they're learning through going on the international study. It just seems to be the right program at the right time with some unique strengths. What's primarily attractive too, or additionally, what I would find attractive is you can get done in 36 months and really have gotten the deposits you need to go out and change the world. So very attractive program. Just put me in the mode of reflecting on some of my own personal interactions and going through the Doctorate of Management program, developing critical thinking, improving your ability to make good decisions, cultivating skills to lead your organization, business decisions, all of those things, transformational leadership. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks. And I'll turn it back over to.
You want to cover the professional opportunities, Steve?
Is that right here? Okay. So yeah, sure. So the next slide on professional opportunities, I think we've touched on it. When you think about career progression and promotion, our panelists just touched on that. External and internal consulting opportunities, working in the academy with adjunct or executives in residence opportunities, and other career aspirations. I think that this really is touching on that career trifecta. And then our faculty, we've got our core full-time faculty here, and it's a mix of people that are from and connected with the College of Business and also the IO Psychology program. And Michelle Brodkey is on our faculty, and she's over at Firelands, and she has a tremendous amount of experience in lean manufacturing and data sciences. Maggie Brooks is she works across between both our OD program, management, and IO Psychology, and she brings a lot of expertise in the areas of survey, assessment, measurement, as well as executive decision making. And then you've got me, and I think I've kind of shared, this is kind of my passion all throughout the stuff I've talked about. Deb O'Neill comes from Case Western, and she has done an incredible amount around women in leadership. She does a lot of work in coaching and development, and she has she's also the director of our master's program, and she just has a wealth of experience in the area of developing people's greatest competencies. Jane Wheeler is our use of self expert. She has done a lot of work in this notion of use of self and how we develop our personal influence in a variety of situations. And there's this inward and outward reflection process. And there's a model that she's been developing that is really at the core of one of the classes that she'll be teaching. And so we've got a really great faculty. I'd also like to add that the people that are on our panel, I've been working to attract them to be a part of our what we have as a professional and clinical faculty. And we're going to be building that faculty out. And we're going to have a team of people working with the dissertation process, as well as being speakers. And we got a lot of stuff that's really exciting at the work with our panelists, plus others from around the world that will be lending their expertise as a part of our professional clinical faculty.
So we're going to move on. We'll talk a little bit about the curriculum and the design of the curriculum. As we talked about, it's a 36-month program. This slide kind of gives you while it's not very specific about the specific courses, it does kind of give you a general idea of what the curriculum looks like over the 3 years. We do have a core, 7 courses that are part of what the core are. As you see, you take 12 hours or 4 courses in year 1 and 3 core courses in year 2 throughout the program. We do have then 4 courses in research that'll balance both the quantitative and qualitative spaces around from a research standpoint. So 2 courses in year 1, 2 courses in year 2. We do want our students to have some flexibility within the program. So there are electives that you'll take 1 elective per year throughout the program. It will provide you some ideas about what those might be, but that does give you a little bit of flexibility to follow a little bit of your passion along the way. You see the note about the preliminary exam during year 2. The International Study Tour is a course. So because there are so much requirements to do preparing for that experience, as well as returning from that experience, it is a course as opposed to just an element of the program. So it is a 3-hour program. And then in years 3, you'll see the dissertation hours is 16 hours to give us a grand total of 61 hours. Again, the program is designed to allow you to be able to finish in 3 years. So keeping on track is a very important point. You can see the note at the bottom about the culminating experience is the applied evidence-based dissertation. And this is the program is designed to allow you to build that or to start with that even before you start. And we'll talk a little bit about the application process, but getting your mind set on what is that passion, what is that research topic of interest, so that as you move through year 1 and into year 2, that the assignments and then the work that you are doing will start leading you towards that final culminating paper to allow you to finish in year 3. Because frankly, if you go through year 1 and year 2 and you're just kind of figuring it out along the way, and you wait till year 3 and say it's time to write that final paper, you're more likely on a 5-year plan than a 3-year plan. And of course, that's not what you signed up for, and that's not what we are helping you drive to. So we want you coming into the program with that idea and that passion. And throughout those 3 years, we're going to help you along the way to make sure that you're prepared to finish that culminating experience in year 3.
And I'll add that the dissertation is your outward demonstration of your competence for the world. And so when you're done with that dissertation in year 3, you are going to publish it. You're going to turn right around. It's going to be a more concise document, manuscript, that you're going to submit to a publication to be published so that your ideas are now disseminated and you're building your subject matter expertise as a brand.
Absolutely. The other thing I would share about Keith, can you just pop back 1 second for those dissertation? You see year 3, and those are dissertation hours. And one of the questions we've had is, well, so are we still having the weekend residency requirements? And the answer is yes, absolutely. One of the biggest challenges for executives who are in doctoral programs is time to write and resources to be able to finish their paper. So yes, we'll still have some residency requirements during year 3, and those experiences This is your opportunity to be able to take some time to write, but also for us to provide resources that are available there for you on site to help you finalize and work on that project. So the answer is yes, there's still weekend residencies, yes. But it's about those resources and the time that we want to make sure that you have to finish the program on time.
One of the biggest challenges with the dissertation is people having the time and the structure within which to successfully complete the dissertation. It is probably one of the biggest hurdles to a person getting their doctorate. We're doing something that is on the leading edge. Very few people are doing it. The dissertation process is structured around 5 writing residencies, and each of the residencies will guide you through 5 steps to getting to the final product, and you will get what you need in order to help you get it done over that time period. And so that is a unique model, and I think it's one that will it will double your chances of getting done on time as opposed to not. And so I'll turn that back over. Tom, you want to talk about admission requirements?
Yeah, so Keith's going to talk a little bit about the grad college requirements, as they have their very specific requirements, and then I'll talk a little bit about our departmental program.
Sure, sounds good, Tom. So our application process is online, and the application for this program is live. And so we've already had, some of you maybe have already started an application. If you haven't, it's really pretty straightforward. You can log in from the Graduate College website. And essentially, the graduate college requirements include just the online application itself. The program does require a master's degree as well as a baccalaureate degree, and they must be from accredited institutions. So if you have a question about that, you can contact me, and I'm happy to review that. But the vast majority of institutions you'd be coming from would be accredited, so that shouldn't be a problem. We do require transcripts from all colleges and universities attended. However, I do want to point out that we only require unofficial transcripts in order to review for admission purposes. And it's only after an applicant has been admitted that we then require official transcripts, and then only from the schools where degrees were earned. So when you go through the application process, we've tried to streamline that and make that as simple as possible. So as long as the document has the name of the institution, the applicant's name on it, and the courses that you took and the grades you received. So it could be a degree audit, it could be an official, an unofficial transcript, whatever you have access to, that should be sufficient for the review purposes. And then for any of our international applicants that may be considering the program out there, we do require proof of language. And so either the TOEFL or the IELTS test would be what we'd be looking for there. And then I'm going to hand it back over to Tom for the specific program requirements, but I do want to just point out that this is one seamless application process. So it's not as though you're applying online and then you're sending other documents to the department. In fact, everything gets uploaded into the application, and then the department is actually able to review your documents very easily online. So Tom, why don't you go through your requirements?
It's a good point, Keith. Yeah. So the program and department requirements. Again, this program is designed for working professionals who have professional experience. So we are looking for folks who have 10 years of professional work experience. I've had a number of folks who have military experience say, well, is that professional or not professional? Absolutely. If you've been in the armed forces and you're at an officer level and you've been around for 20 years, and absolutely that counts. So I want to make sure that I clarify that. So 10 years of professional experience. The GRE GMAT is likely a requirement that will be waived based on your work experience. There's a chance we may have somebody who has really strong 5 years of work experience who may come to us, and we want to make sure that the requirement is there for somebody in that space. But in most cases, if you have the 10 years of work experience or more, the GMAT or GRE is going to be waived for you. The career objective essay of no less than 1,000 words. This is really laying that foundation for your interest, your passion, where you're heading in the program. If you go to our website, we have a very good outline that details exactly what we're looking for in that essay to allow you to make sure that you're giving us what we need, and it also lets you know, kind of leads you towards what that kind of that research topic of interest are. We want 2 letters of recommendation. We get a lot of questions about where those letters of recommendation should come from. We'd love to see recommendations that come from a supervisor or a leader from your organization that you work with a lot. That's a great option. Second recommendation letter may come from a board role that you have. So maybe the president of a board that you've been part of, or maybe that's the leader of an organization where you are president of a board that you're supporting. Some letter of recommendation that gives us a solid sense of your background. If you're still well connected with your master's degree program and you have a faculty member who could write you a recommendation letter, that would be awesome as well. So those are the kind of the recommendations that we're looking for. We want an updated professional resume that gives us a little room about the background that you have, the experiences that you have. That's, of course, very helpful for us. And in many cases, we would like to have an interview. So an interview done with either Dr. Katie or I to make sure that we know why you're coming to the program and you know more about the program. The last thing we want somebody to do is to sign up for the program and find out it's not what they wanted. So we'd like to have that interview along with you to make sure that you're in the right place and everything is going to be kind of in the right space. So you can contact me to schedule those with Dr. Cater or I along the way.
And Tom, I just assume that, if somebody's local, they can come to campus, but if they're not, that can be done via Skype or online, phone, whatever works for you. Correct?
Absolutely. Yep. Virtual is absolutely fine. Dr. Katie and I are pretty regular users of all of the social media or other ways of connecting.
And I would add also that the interview, because you have all your contact information in, we'll be able to reach out to you and schedule that. You don't have to find Tom or find me. We'll find you once you go through the process through the online information.
Perfect.
So a couple questions, just a piece of information about the tuition and funding options. The cost of the program is it's a executive format similar to some other executive programs. So the approximate cost is about $23,000 a year, so a little under $80,000 for the entire program. And the way that this is designed is that all of your core courses, along with your dissertation topic, as well as the international trip, all of the costs are built into those. So for all of your core classes, the international trip, and all your dissertation, that includes everything. So we purchase your books. We'll provide you your books that you need for those courses throughout the process. It does include all of the major costs for the international experience. So it covers your airfare and your hotel fees and your meals and ground transportation and access to the organizations that Steve's already kind of mentioned. So it includes all of those. So those aren't built on top of your tuition. We kind of look at this as you're an executive student, you have a job, you have a family, you're trying to work on your degree. Let you focus on that work, and we'll take care of all the other details behind the scenes that you don't have to worry about. The options, we definitely recommend that students fill out their application, their FAFSA. If you're looking for student loan options, those are great options out there. And then there's Stafford loans for graduate studies as well, which are guaranteed student loans and offer pretty competitive student interest rates. And I know Keith's got some more information a little bit about those the funding options there.
Yep, I just wanted to clarify real quick, Tom, that for those of you who may not be familiar with the Stafford loan, maybe you went through on a Stafford loan at the undergraduate level and you're just thinking that it's the exact same thing at the graduate level, when in fact a graduate Stafford loan is really a great option for graduate studies for a couple of reasons. One is similar to an undergraduate loan, it is a guaranteed student loan. So what that means is they don't take into consideration your assets, your income, anything like that. So oftentimes a graduate student will say, well, I'm not going to be eligible for a Stafford loan, when in fact it's guaranteed. So as long as you are not in default on a prior Stafford loan, you will, if you apply for it, you will receive it. And it's a totally separate pot of money than what you had at the undergraduate level. So what that means is, again, oftentimes I get the question, well, I maxed out on my undergraduate, student loans, and I know you've been out for a number of years, but maybe you're still making payments on that. That's totally fine. It's a totally separate pot of money that you'll receive for graduate studies. And, we've looked at the cost per year, and it will go a significant way to covering your costs in this program. The other thing is that your undergraduate loans or even your prior graduate loans will automatically be deferred when you enroll in this program. So it's kind of a nice added bonus that that won't be an issue at all. So when it comes to loans, definitely consider a grad Stafford. And the other thing, and maybe Dr. Katie has something to add here, but one of the things I want to mention is even if you're getting a professional benefit, let's say your employer has a benefit of reimbursement for graduate education. One of the things that I often suggest to our students is that they consider using the Graduate Stafford Loan to pay the upfront costs until they get the reimbursement on the backside. So, there's lots of different ways you can consider the Graduate Stafford Loan. So we just wanted to make sure that you had that information handy when you're considering that.
Yeah, and so the question is, how does this program and the cost compare to other peer institution costs? So I've done a pretty extensive comparison, and a couple things. When I look at our peer institutions, the range is between $75,000 to $150,000. We're on the lower end of the cost of those programs. When I look at AACSB institutions, we are without a doubt at the lower end of cost in terms of programs. One of the ROI indicators are that you should be, based on having this degree, be able to get your ROI in terms of return on your investment within 2 years, maybe 3. And I think that it's probably going to be even quicker than that. And I think that you'll leverage your way up very quick in getting even more return on your investment from there. So the program is competitive. It is, and the ROI is very good. Bowling Green State University's College of Business ROI is one of the top in the nation for our students that graduate from college when we do ROI analysis.
So the last thing we wanted to cover here is just in terms of accommodations. So our students do come in for residency weekends, and they'll do 5 weekends in each calendar year. So we just kind of give it a couple examples of places that some of our students, currently even our executive MOD students stay. Our classes will actually not meet on main campus. When we do our residency weekends, we actually meet in our small facility in Perrysburg, which is about 15 minutes north of main campus. The reason we do that is it's a great smaller facility. It allows students to be able to park right outside the door, walk in, and the classroom is right there, rather than coming to college campus and figuring out where you have to come to. So from an accommodation standpoint, while it's not included in the tuition, these are typically 3 places that are within walking distance of that facility in Perrysburg.
Great. So with that, Tom, we're going to open it up for some questions, and I know that Steve, perhaps we'd like to go back and again, if you want to reference some of our panelists here and see if they have any additional comments, and maybe while we do that, we'll open it up for anybody else who's joined us today. If there's any questions that you have that have not been addressed by Tom or by Steve, this would be your time to go on ahead and ask those questions. And while we're waiting for those, Steve, why don't we ask some more questions of our panel?
Great. So, Dr. Rucci, I'd like to start with you if we could. And what reactions do you have to what you've heard at the second half of what we shared? And also, what's maybe a question you think someone may have and your thoughts on the answer?
Sure. I think the biggest thing that anyone considering this should be asking themselves is, what is their motivation for getting a PhD? And, that may seem like a naive comment, but I routinely tell people who have asked me, gee, I'm thinking about going back for a PhD. What do you think? Number one, absolutely, it can directly impact your career track, your career trajectory, and your career success. There's simply no question about that. But more importantly, I always encourage people, get a PhD because it's also an important personal life goal for you. You're already, everybody who is interested in a program like this are most likely already working a day job and earning a living. And so to take on this kind of an additional commitment is not an incidental kind of a commitment. It's got to be something that you have some real personal passion about and want to do. And honestly, even in full-time graduate programs, I found the same to be true. When I started my PhD program, there were 11 of us who started that program. And the people who successfully completed it and completed it within a reasonable 4 or 5 year time frame were the people who seem to have a personal life goal to complete a PhD. And I think that speaks to, the motivation that you would then bring to that sense of meaning and purpose in the way you perceive your career objective.
Thank you. And I'd like to offer one of the distinctions we're making with this program is that we have the notion of a professional doctorate and a PhD. And so, Tony, you were talking a bit about a PhD, and some people may think that a PhD is the same thing as a doctorate, and there is a distinction there. And so what we have done with this program is we have, this is a doctorate in organizational development and change, which allows it to be a professional doctorate and that 3-year terminal degree. Then and one of my personal plans is about 3 years from now to add the opportunity for someone to do a 4th or 5th year option to get an academic PhD. The difference between a professional doctorate and a PhD from this program perspective is that the doctorate allows you to be a scholar practitioner working in practice and also to teach in higher education settings, whereas the PhD, the academic PhD, would provide a person with the opportunity to go into a research track position as a tenure track position in a university in which you have to meet certain research requirements over a 5-year period and then go up for evaluation to determine if you get tenure. And it's a very different model where it's very academic and research and theoretically focused as opposed to a scholar practitioner model. So, Dr. Williams, what are your reactions thus far? What's a question you think might need to be answered that would be helpful to others listening?
Sure. When I was considering going back for my doctorate, one of the things that was important for me was to really go back and validate academically some of the practices that I employed on a daily basis within my organization. Interacting with management teams in several plants in an OEM automotive manufacturer. So for me, I was attracted, that was one of the reasons. And then I wanted to enhance and expand my present mindset as a leader, as a manager. It was important for me to excel professionally in my career, and also excel academically, where there was no diminished contribution in the workplace, and that I excelled in school. People may be thinking, well, this will impact my ability to perform in my job role. It will require sacrifices, but you have to keep the goal out in front of you at all times. So there are no changes in your ability to be an excellent manager, leader in your current role. You will grow. You will be able to have access to research and data on a myriad of subjects, on research topics, salient topics that are relevant in today's competitive marketplace. And so you're able to grow and expand your bandwidth, your paradigm, by validating academically some of the things that you do know already, and then expand on your thinking and add to that. And so, and then secondly, it really gives you the academic credentials, the distinction, complement any of your work experiences, present or past, that you've, and any of the knowledge acquired in previous undergraduate and graduate programs. So if you're willing to put the commitment in, to make some personal sacrifices, you can excel professionally in your role while growing and expanding. The sky's the limit from an academic standpoint, because the program as defined is being established to be flexible, to allow you the weekend opportunities, the online access to continue furthering your education. So I think that it's an extremely good way to grow and to leverage your opportunities to contribute. For me, I was a middle manager when I started the program 17 years ago, and I later was promoted to a director. So, and I was able to expand my bandwidth. I had more employees. I ended up having 54 employees, 3 departments comprising the total organization. And on a daily basis, I was able to apply what I learned in the doctoral program.
That's great. Thank you. And Dr. Gorelick, what are your thoughts? Are you there, Carol?
There, I had to unmute. Well, my first question when you asked has already been answered, because I think one of the most important things is to be very clear on whether you want to be an academic with tenure track aspirations. And this program in its current form won't do that, but it'll give you much broader opportunity. The second question that I had if I was applying is, can you give me an example of the kind of dissertation topics you think are realistic for something that would be done, over 3 years? So I can put a handle on what I would like to come in and study?
Yep. And, Carol, that's a good question. If we were able to navigate over to our program proposal, I have a list of dissertation topics. So I'm going to take a look and see if I can pull something up to show you all a list of topics. And they're pretty compelling. And I just don't know if we have time right now to get to that page. But let's see what else we have. I'll have a question for you all. And so, Carol, you might have a couple other points you want to make. And then I have a closing question for the three of you. And by the time we get there, hopefully I will have found that list of some examples, which I found really good.
Well, and what I was going to suggest, Steve, is we can also, we'll do a follow-up email to everyone, because we want to be able to send all of our participants today a copy of the fact sheet. And so we can also send them a link to any website that you may have. So that may be a way to make sure that everybody gets that out as well, without trying to interrupt here, because we've got about 3 minutes left. So so we'll be sure to get that information out to everybody, along with a copy of the fact sheet.
So, Carol, anything else you want to share before we?
If we only have 3 minutes, I don't want to go into it, but I wonder if there's any opportunity for groups of people to do the dissertation, or is it only an individual dissertation?
That is always possible. It is definitely a direct relationship to the students and the faculty that are involved in that. I have done projects with students that which they took portions of a particular project and they examined different pieces, but they jointly worked on collecting data around it, which saved them a good bit of time, and they were able to share in the workload around collecting the data, and then they would take their piece, their angle that they're looking at in the project. And so that's definitely it, but it takes the faculty member. Sometimes it's a chair of the 3 people or the 2 people. The one chair is chairing the 3 to make sure that it's well coordinated, and then they have committees for each person and so forth from there.
Great. And I think we just had one additional question that's come in, Steve, that I wanted to ask, and it basically has to do with the essay for the admissions process. I don't know if you could give maybe a little bit more information about what you would like to see in those essays.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a couple of things. One, we right now have the essay document, and it has it outlines the questions that you're to ask, and it begins by talking about what is your interest in the program and your personal and professional goals. It flows through to what you want to contribute and get from a cohort learning experience, and then it flows into a question around what's your topic, what's this problem or issue, what is your particular method or model that you want to test, your program, whatever it might be, and it walks you through describing what it is, how you might evaluate it, and so forth. So those are the questions. I'm providing right now, putting together right now a complimentary video that will kind of walk through and give tips on how to answer that. We have a certain word length, and what we're looking for, one in the essay, I think we're looking first is the ability to follow directions and just answer the questions. Second is the basic writing and formatting and the other skills around citing and just being able to provide the proper writing and so forth around that. Third is, I think we're really interested in seeing that this is something that connects with your professional goals, and knowing that, as was mentioned by one of the panelists, that being clear about how this is connected to what you want to achieve with your life and that career trifecta, how it's connected to your professional pursuits and what you care about, that's going to give you the motivation and the resilience necessary to follow through on this program. And so we'll be looking at those kinds of things. I personally am right off the bat looking, are you a decent writer? We obviously are going to develop that skill set as you go through the program even more and take it deeper and further. But your ability to clearly communicate in those questions and follow the directions, I think, is the thing that we're at the base level looking for.
Great. So, Steve, we're just about out of time. Did you have some closing thoughts maybe that you want to go with here before we wrap things up?
I'll turn it over to Tom. I'm still looking to read some topics because I want to answer that question, and I think I might be able to. But Tom, do you have anything that you want to share?
I would just say that if you have some interest in the program, or you know somebody who might have interest, just reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions. Bowling Green State University has a reputation for being very student focused, and our programs are very one touch. So as you go through the application process, I could be your contact to help you through that process. When you gain admission into the program, I will be your contact throughout the time that you're here for the 3 years. So I'm not handing you off to anybody. You're going to work with Dr. Katie and I all the way through your 3 years. So there's no handoff. So if you have interest, give us a shout. We're happy to help. And correct, my email address is not correct. That's on there. But the correct email address is T as in Tom, DANIE. But if you send either Steve or Keith a note, they'll make sure you find me.
Yeah. And so I got this here for you. I got the final answer. So let me read you a few that are examples that I went out and looked around the country at similar programs or peer institutions to look at, give you an idea. So here's a gentleman who's a retired director of economics at a major petroleum company, and his dissertation was Forecast Revision as an Antecedent to Strategic Change. Another person worked in public affairs as a public affairs consultant, and the dissertation topic was Legislators as Leaders, elucidating the influence of gender, religious beliefs, and mindfulness on legislative decision-making. Here's another one that was with someone who is a professor in a college, empowering the 99%, one ESOP at a time, a mixed method study of employee-owned company acquisitions. Another topic, factors contributing to sustainable brand growth. Another topic, looking beyond culture, determining success factors for transnational multi-party collaboration. I'll just give you two more and then I'll wrap up. Another topic here is a dissertation said, are we having fun yet? What is the relationship between mentoring, fun at work, and job satisfaction? Another person looked at the potency of informal learning in paid and non-paid work. So those are a couple, several examples of dissertations, and I've got a whole list here that we'll share with you offline.
Perfect. Great, Steve. Well, with that, we are out of time, but we just want to thank our panelists for joining us today, and I will also want to thank Dr. Katie and Tom Daniels for presenting both the information about this career, this exciting opportunity, as well as the new DODC program here on our campus. And again, as you've already heard from Tom, if you have any questions, be sure to contact us. We're here to help you and walk you through the process of application. So with that, we're going to sign off. Thank you for your time, and we hope you have a great afternoon.